Let's pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the offices of leaders and legislative assemblies for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of important trusts in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our people, our country, and of those whose interest you have committed to our charge. Amen. Members, it appears we have no quorum. I suggest that we ring the bell for 10 minutes, then we can commence. Members, I wish to add 5 more minutes. If we don't achieve the quorum, then we can adjourn. Are we in consensus? Thank you. Ring the bell for 5 more minutes. Yeah, now ready. Okay. All right. We now have quorum. We can proceed. Clerk, next order.
Order number 1, administration of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4, petitions.
Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
May I request Honorable Dixon Maundu to proceed and seek your statement. Seek your statement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Dixon Maundu, representing the great people of Kangundo Central Ward. Madam Speaker, Article 43(1)(a) of the Constitution of Kenya provides that every person has the right to the highest attainable standard of health, which includes the right to health care services, including reproductive health care. Part 2(a) and C of the 4th schedule of the Constitution of Kenya provides that the functions of the county government include county health services, including county health facilities and the promotion of primary health care. Honorable Speaker, Kangundo Level 4 Hospital is in a deplorable state owing to the lack of crucial infrastructure such as a perimeter wall, lighting in the facility, broken down mortuary equipment, and lack of proper cleaning services. The facility is within the jurisdiction of the county government and in poor condition, with the imminent threat of the staff going on strike and lack of sufficient facilities to enable operations to provide much needed health care. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the Standing Order number 41 of the Assembly Standing Orders, I wish to seek a statement from the Chairperson of the Assembly Committee on Health and Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the Standing Order number 41 of the Assembly Standing Orders, I wish to seek a statement from the Chairperson of the Assembly Committee on Health and Emergency Services concerning the following matters. Whether Kangundo Level 4 Hospital is optimally operational, whether it faces any operational challenges, and whether there is any action taken by the county government to address these challenges. 2, the state of infrastructure at Kangundo Level 4 Hospital, including perimeter walling, lighting and equipment, particularly mortuary equipment, and any steps taken to address any inadequacies. 3, The status of human resource management at Kangundo Level 4 Hospital, including the working conditions for the hospital workers, their welfare, and any ongoing or planned industrial action by the workers, and the action the county government has taken so far regarding all these issues. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Maundu. I hereby commit that statement to the Committee on Health and Emergency Services to respond on or before 6th December 2022. Next order.
Order number 8, approval of report on consideration of the public finance management, Machakos County Government Executive Staff Car and Mortgage Fund Regulations 2022.
I call upon Honorable Francis Ngunga, the chairperson to Delegated County Legislation Committee, to move the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good afternoon, members. Before you is Honorable Francis Mwani Kingunga, the chairman of Delegated and County Legislation Committee, which has a report as I moved in the morning, and the report is with you, members. Madam Speaker, with your guidance, and I can see that if we are not careful, we are likely to run out of quorum. So, Madam Speaker, I will be very technical in making sure that this report is gone, we go through it quickly. So, Madam Speaker, this report, which is the members have, is a report by the delegated committee, and we are going to have, sorry. Oh, sorry, Madam. Sorry, Madam, this is a motion on approval of the report on the consideration of the public finance management management that I read in the morning. So, Madam Speaker, Honorable Speaker, that aware that Article 94, Section 5 of the Constitution provides that no person or body other than Parliament has the power to make provision having the force of law in Kenya except under authority conferred by this Constitution or by legislation. Further aware that Article 95, Section 6 of the Constitution provides that an act of Parliament or legislation of a county that confers on any state organ, state officer or person that the authority to make provision having the force of law in Kenya as contemplated in Clause 5 shall expressly specify the purpose and objectives for which that authority is conferred, the limits of the authority, the nature and scope of the law that may be made, and the principles and standards applicable to the law made under the authority. Acknowledging that the Public Finance Management Regulations 2022 were published in the Kenya Gazette by the legal notice number 18 of 2012 and submitted to the clerk of the County Assembly for consideration in the line with Section 11 of the Statutory Instruments Act 13 rather, cognizant that the regulations seek to provide financing for the purchase, construction, or development of a residential property and for the purchase of private cars by qualifying members of the Machakos County Public Service staff and employees. Honorable Speaker, I wish to move the motion that pursuant to the Standing Order number 189B, this Honorable House approves Delegated County Legislation Committee report on consideration of the Public Finance Management Regulations 2012. So, Madam Speaker, there we are. I now propose the question, sorry.
I request that there's a brief report there you could.
Yes, Madam Speaker.
You want to usurp my powers? Okay, what I would suggest, Mheshimiwa Ngunga, there's a brief report you could go through briefly so that members can understand what it is, instead of going to on the bigger report. There's a bigger report.
Thank
and
you.
there's a brief one.
Madam Chair, point of information.
Yes.
The motion has been moved but has not been seconded, so it cannot stand.
I wanted him to give a brief, then I asked him to ask a member.
Brief on the motion or on the report, because the motion has to be seconded. It's a requirement.
Okay, then seconding comes first, then he gives a brief report. Which comes first, the egg or the chicken? Then finish with the report. I'm guided that you finish with the report, then you call a seconder,
Yes.
and then we move.
That is it, Madam.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So then, members, I want to hand us to be, let's go to the report that is there. That report there establishes, the preface there is the one that gives a brief outline on the committee's mandate. The Committee on Legislation is actually a very technical committee, members. If you look at number 2, we have about those as our spheres where we are supposed to operate. They are really technical. If you look at 1, 2, you see the combination of the technical members that I work with. I have 13 members in my committee. And we are beefed up by a secretariat that has 5 members. And Madam Speaker, is worth noting that we also have an attachment of a legal officer in this committee. It's a very technical committee. We cannot do without a legal officer. And I'm pleased, Madam Speaker, we have one that has been able to assist us. If you go to Article 2, that is where we have the consideration of the Public Finance Management Regulations 2022. And the introduction background, Madam Speaker, I think I can mention something about that. Members, the Public Finance Management Regulations, the ones we are talking about, were made by His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Machakos, County Executive Committee member, serving as a County Executive Committee member, and Economic Planning, pursuant to Section 116, Part 1 of the Public Finance Management Act in 2012, which empowers the County Executive Committee member to make regulations establishing public funds. The regulations were published in the Kenya Gazette on the 18th of January 2022 through a legal notice number 18 of 2012, submitted to the Clerk of the County Assembly on the 3rd of February 2022, and subsequently laid in the House or in this House on the 30th March 2022. Members, therefore, you can see we have an history about what we are talking about. And the purpose of this regulation, members, was to seek to provide financing for the purchase, construction, or development of a residential property, and for the purchase of private cars by qualifying members of the Machakos County Public Service staff and employees. So we have the overview there of the regulations. And Madam Speaker, and on behalf of the members, we had a very robust engagement with the members, and we went through all the regulations very thoroughly. And members, for your information, the regulations are there, they are captured there. Regulation number 8, Part 1, is where we talk about the regulation on provides for citation and definition of the terms. We have Part 9 that talks about provides the establishment of the fund under the county department. Regulation number 4 provides the objectives and purpose of the fund. I am on page 9, members. And there we have Part 3. That is where we have the regulation. The regulation relates to the management and administration of the fund. And in this case, Regulation 6 establishes the Advisory and Loans Management Committee. I think it's important that I mention how this committee or this fund is going to be managed by who. Number 1, County Executive Committee member responsible for public service shall be the chairman. County Executive Committee member responsible for county treasury shall be the a member, the county attorney. The chief officer responsible for public service shall be an ex officio member, and the secretary. Chief officer responsible for account treasury. Chief officer responsible for housing and planning shall be a member. Chief officer responsible for transport again. Then we shall have a secretary or chief officer of the Account Public Service Board. Regulation number 7 is here, members. That is talking about advisory on the loans. Number 12 is talking on the functions of the advisory committee. And that it says it will include processing and of application loans in accordance with what, that is no more conventional, it's actually conventional, members. Then we have regulation number 10 there, which relates to administration of the fund, how this fund is going to be administered, members. And this recognizes the chief officer responsible for public service as a fund administrator, which with the following responsibilities, the responsibilities are highlighted there. Number 1, to supervise and control the administration of the fund. 2, to request the board for appointment of such staff as may be necessary to assist in the administration of the fund. Number C, utilize the interest accruing to the fund to pay for operating expenses and may impose any reasonable restrictions or other requirements of the use of the fund. Maybe, members, you may need to note number C because it will interest you elsewhere along the report. D, with the approval of the county executive member of finance, open and manage a bank account for the fund in accordance with the Public Finance Management Act of 2012. E, keep books of accounts and other records in relation to the fund, including all the loans financed from the fund in accordance with the Public Finance Management Act. And F, supposed to prepare, sign, and transmit to the Office of the Auditor General in respect of each financial year a statement of accounts showing the expenditure incurred from fund in such details of the account treasury may, such details as the account treasury may from time to time direct in accordance with the Public Finance Management Act of 2012. And the last one is provide an additional information as may be required for the purpose of examination and audit by the Office of the Auditor General. So regulation number 11 is here, relates to the appointment of fund manager that where necessary. Number 15 contains the regulations, gives condition for disbursement, how the fund is going to be disbursed. Regulation 15 provides a temporary release of the documents that are going to be held by the fund. Number 16 again provides for administration of the mortgage, where regulation 17 and 18 provide an application for a mortgage. Our application for a mortgage shall be administered, and that will be accompanied by the following. These are no more conventional things, members, and these are things that I'm sure you're already aware and are experiencing. From there, we go to regulation 19. Again, members, we are keen there. You see, this gives a direction on how the loan shall be granted, where it comes to a leasehold, where maybe the property that I've given out is a leasehold. Number 19 gives regulations on how a mortgage will be protected. Number 20 gives provision for loan repayment, how it's going to be repaid. Then, from there, we went to scrutinizing on the instrument and committee observation. This is where, members, I want you to be keen, because our committee was interested in this particular area. With the regulations having been published on the 18th of January 2022, Madam Speaker, received by the clerk of the County Assembly on the 3rd February 2022, and subsequently transmitted to the committee for consideration on the 30th March 2022, the committee observed the following. Statutory timelines. That the regulations were published in the Kenya Gazette by legal notice number 18 of 2012 and submitted to the clerk of the County Assembly in line with section 11(1) of the Statutory Instrument Act 2013. Conformity of the regulations with other written laws. Madam Speaker, it's worth noting that one of the mandate of this committee is to ensure that the laws that are passed are in conformity with all the other statutory legislation that exists. That the Machakos County Executive Staff CAL and Mortgage Regulations 2022 conforms to the Constitution of Kenya, the Public Finance Management Act of 2012, Statutory Instruments Act 2013, and other related laws except Regulation number 23, Section 4. Members, underline that. Section 23, Part 4, which contravenes Salaries and Remunerations Commission Circular, reference number SRC, admin CIR 113, volume 3, 128, dated 17 December 2014, as it relates to the car loan and mortgage schemes for state officers and other public officers of Government of Kenya. Madam Speaker, the above stated regulations inappropriately delegates powers to the fund manager to charge an additional 1%. The loan granted to the borrower on top of a 3% of the interest rate charged under Regulation 22(1), contrary to the aforementioned SRC circular, ends not within the law. Committee recommendations. Having examined the public finance management regulations, and here which will be cited the Machakos County Government Executive Staff Car and Mortgage Funds 2022 against the Constitution of Kenya, the Public Finance Management Act 2012, the Statutory Instrument Act 2013, and other related laws, the committee recommends that pursuant to the Standing Order number 189B, the House annuls Regulation 23(4) as it contravenes Salaries and Remuneration Commission Circular for inappropriately delegating powers to the fund manager to charge an additional 1% of the loan granted to the borrower on top of the 3% of the interest rate charged under Regulation 22(1). Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, with your advice, before I call a seconder,
Yes.
I think, Madam Speaker, for ease of debate, just to say that we have been able to consider as a committee these regulations that came before us very, very keenly, and we thought that these regulations were actually conforming to all the laws, other than just that one element, Madam Speaker, that we picked as a committee under the guidance of the legal officer, and we felt that the fund manager had been delegated extra powers where they are given an extra power to charge an extra 1% interest rate on top of the 3% allowable by government. And so he felt that this report will need to be taken back to the Chief Officer of Finance so that he does away with that 23(4) section so that it comes again to the House, to the committee, and eventually to the House for eventual purpose. Madam Speaker, the purpose of our committee is to ensure that legislation conforms with, legislation that is passed here conforms with the statutory documents that exist in this country. And so, Madam Speaker, is our guided opinion that this House puts aside this report for the purpose of trying to rectify that one section, and then after that, we shall have way forward. Madam Speaker, it's very important to note that for the last 10 years, the staff members that serve us very diligently have not been able to enjoy this facility, so it's a matter of county importance. Madam Speaker, with your indulgence, I want to ask Honorable Maeke to second this report. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa. Honorable Maeke.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I stand to second that motion. As a member of the delegated committee, that is Delegated Legislation Committee, as the honorable member from Mua has explained to the House, there's a really need for this House to make those considerations, because you understand that all the laws that this assembly makes or should not be punitive. I was looking at mathematically the 1% that is being handed. It may be 1% in paper, but it translates to a lot of money. Because if you are taking a loan of 5 million, 1% translates to 50,000. 50,000 translates to, if you are giving 1,000 members, it translates to almost 50 million. And you find that this amount they were inserting 1% was meant for administrative. Yet the 3%, as it has been alluded, is already taking care of the administrative expenses. So our prayer is this house will also make a consideration of letting, so that we don't pass rules that are going to be so oppressive to the staff members, and also owing to the fact that this kitty acts as a motivation, because some of our salaries are very low, and as you've seen in this house, it is evident that even we are struggling to get a quorum because there is no motivation. And I believe if this money is availed to these members who are working for this county assembly, it will be very grateful and helpful to them. So I second the motion that the report goes back to the concerned, I think, finance, if I'm right, and they come up with a proper regulations which are not punitive, and then it's adopted with urgency for them to enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa Maeke. And now I propose the question that, pursuant to the Standing Order number 189B, this Honorable House approves Delegated County Legislation Committee report on consideration of the Public Finance Management, in brackets, Machakos County Government Executive Staff Car and Mortgage Fund, Regulations 2022. I now invite the members to debate this motion. Members, it is your turn to debate the motion. Mheshimiwa Mwoki.
Madam Speaker, I think the Committee on Delegation did a good job. I'm kind of not very happy with the 1% that is being surcharged on administration of the same fund by members I thought the administrators or those who are going to administrate are employees of the same county, meaning that they will be paid twice for the same service. So I'm trying to say, yes, the path that has been taken by the committee is the best. Let us delete that, then bring it back here. We support it. So as I sit down, I'm saying I support that motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. I need more contributions from members. Mheshimiwa Lucky.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand positive of the motion, but with some questions about the motion, because it is touching about the welfare of the staff of the county. I would say I appreciate the committee and the chair. They did a good job, beautiful, well articulated, well prepared, and organized. Thank you, the chair. But Madam Speaker, I would want to contribute and say, with the current exercise in the county about the employees and staff, this motion would be best fitted when it comes after the task force report is out and the situation of staff being cleared, because if it is go through at this time, the county may stand risk of losing a lot of funds by giving funds to unwarranted staff. I support but defer the motion to another time. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa Lucky. More contributions? More contributions from members? Move. therefore invite the mover of the motion to reply.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, honorable members, for your patience and giving us that support you have. And I think, Madam Speaker, it's worth highlighting, Honorable Whip, to say that, the House makes laws, and these laws are not tailored for any particular consumption. Actually, laws are universal. So these laws will find, whoever is found by these laws will consume them. So, Madam Speaker, I'm hoping that the House finds favor in passing this report. Whether we are going to have 200, we are going to have 5,000, we are going to have 10,000 members of staff, they are going to consume these laws. So these laws are not tailored for any particular person. It's actually laws that are going to be consumed by the county. Let me suffice to say that, Madam Speaker, the Committee on Delegated Legislation is one actually misunderstood committee, but it's one committee that will need to ask for support from this House. Because going round, when we were getting our legacy report, we realized that there is so much legislation, Madam Speaker, that is lying in our shelves here that has been passed by this House but has not been made operational. And with your support, members, and the support of my committee, we are going to dust those shelves and we are going to wake up to the occasion and ensure that legislation is followed. We have so many acts, Madam Speaker, that have not been operationalized. Acts are there, but regulations have not been able to be brought to this House. We are going to ensure as a committee that those regulations are brought to this House, they are debated, they are passed, and they are given to the relevant departments for eventual consumption. So, Madam Speaker, I want to thank your office. I want to thank the members for that support. And I want to say that, members, we are up to the task. Our biggest role here is to legislate. Our biggest role here is to pass laws. That is why, Madam Speaker, I was here 8 o'clock. I was here in 8 o'clock to prepare. You must have heard this report was well versed. Yes. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa. I now put the question that pursuant to the Standing Order number 189B, this Honorable House approves Delegated County Legislation Committee report on consideration of the Public Finance Management Machakos County Government Executive Staff Car and Mortgage Fund Regulations 2022. As many as are of the opinion say ayes. As many as are of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you, members. Therefore, there being no more business, the House adjourns to Tuesday, the 22nd November 2022 at 10 a.m. Thank you, members.